Hey guys, Mark Anthony here for MedTech World, and for today's podcast I have with me Georgina Kyriakoudes from ARIA Health. Let's go. Georgina Kyriakoudes, how nice to finally meet you. Thanks for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
I was so glad to see your name on my podcast list, Georgina. You represent ARIA Health. That's really great. And I have a few questions for you today to better understand the concept, the culture behind it, and your take on this healthcare system. Brilliant. So we'll jump right into it, Georgina. So, Georgina, can you tell us a little bit about ARIA Health and what inspired you to start this company?
Yes, of course. So ARIA is a next generation Web3 healthcare data platform. We've been working with top hospitals in Europe and now more internationally to bring patients unified data and to give them more control over their information and bring more transparency to how medical data is used in the industry. It started actually when I was doing my master's in blockchain, which was nearly 5 years ago now. And I was looking at my thesis and working with a friend of mine, now co-founder Fadi, and we were considering, what topic to do the thesis on. And back then, the focus was still very much financial, as it is now. There was starting to be some interest in supply chain. But actually at that time, his wife was rushed into hospital and she was in agonizing pain and essentially made to wait for more than 4 hours while they frantically searched for her medical information. And it was really just by luck that a doctor that knew her came by, rushed her through for an ultrasound and found she had an ectopic pregnancy. And even though she had given birth in that hospital 2 years beforehand, they still didn't even have the details of her doctor on hand. So they literally had to call on the mobile, rush her in for surgery. She'd lost 3 liters of blood. Thankfully, everything was fine. She even went on to have a healthy baby the next year. But it was really that kind of triggered us to say, we have access to so much information, but not to our most important data, our health data. And then at the same time, we're sitting on this technology, which is all about giving access and ownership of information back to the true owners in an ultra private and secure way, which is really important for such sensitive data. And that's what then led us down the journey of initially doing research in this. We led to us being published in the Lancet and learning really why this data is so important and what it means, and then going on to develop what is now ARIA Health.
That's Georgina, you got me excited after the first question. Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, the importance of having your data stored correctly is imperative, I would say. This could have been a fatal situation, of course. I mean, yes, she lost 3 liters of blood. Everything was fine at the end, but it could have been so much different. So the importance of having your data at hand, yes, definitely. Georgina, can you actually give us some examples of why access to health data is so important? I mean, apart from what you've just explained to me, of course, and how are users in your platform looking to use that data?
Yeah, so I think what's really interesting is that as we did this research and as we've been working in this industry for some time now, we've definitely seen the importance of it for patient outcomes. So be that an emergency situation, be that you're managing chronic health conditions or you want a second medical opinion. But then, especially in recent years where data has become so important, the demand for access to this data has really grown. It's needed for drug discovery, for population health analysis, and COVID-19 taught us the importance of being able to get epidemiological data. It's needed for AI machines and NLP machines for both training those machines and validating them. So there's a lot of really important reasons that we need data to move our healthcare system forward. And currently what we're seeing is that either this data is just not accessible, or it's being accessed without the patient's involvement. So we see, for example, 23andMe, the DNA company, they sold 10 million DNA records to 𝐂𝐸-𝐓𝐞𝐜 for $300 million. And the patients aren't aware of that and aren't involved in that. And so, further sort of importance and purpose of blockchain is to bring transparency. And that's where we've really been focusing on how can we bring the patient back into that, make sure they know what's happening to their data, and also give them that opportunity to make an impact in the future of health and be able to see how their data can be used and can value the progression of the industry.
Good. That's a very good answer. Georgina, how does ARIA Health differentiate itself from other healthcare companies in the market?
Yeah, so because this is such an important topic and data has been a topic which, many people across the world realize is needed, there have been a lot of competitors come up, and the focus for most projects has just been on getting the data, and once again has been missing patients getting involved. So I think that social innovation and that importance of bringing patients into the process is a big differentiator for us. And that has a lot of really important consequences. It has been shown to increase the number of patients willing to share their data, if they understand how it's being used, if they get benefits for how it's being used. We've seen that it's important for patients to be able to be followed up. That could be so they can add additional lifestyle information. So it's one thing to know your medical data, but it helps if I know if you're a smoker or your health habits. Or whether that's to invite patients to a clinical trial, to future drug development. So bringing the patient on board is super, super important. So that's one thing that we really uniquely hand back that data to the patient. And when I say hand back the data, I really mean that there's other blockchain solutions, for example, which are kind of hand-holding between the pharma and the hospital, with the patient having some visibility. But we focus on really gathering that data, standardizing that data, making it ready for actual analysis and use in the market, because that's another massive issue we have is that data actually even usable? So we cover all of that. We do integrations with hospital systems, we standardize the data, we give it back to the patients are then involved in the process. And then we actually even financially reward. So we have smart contracts and tokens involved, which allow for example, a pharmaceutical, but it could be a researcher, a health tech company, to come and access data which the patients have allowed. And then the reward is distributed back to the patients and the hospitals. And that gives a really strong incentive for both the hospitals and the patients to be able to come on board together and to align their interests and really help us grow this system in a way that is beneficial for all.
And what partners are you currently working with at the moment, and why do they want to join ARIA ecosystem? I mean, how do you incentivize the users to get involved?
Yeah, so we've already got our platform up and running in multiple European hospitals. So it's been amazing to see patients actually interacting with this and to see how they've used the system. And now we've recently been on a program with Novartis, so the third largest pharmaceutical company in the world. That's been a really interesting project, both to learn from a design side what they need, and then we're on doing further pilots with them. And we even now have a further very large hospital group coming on board that have over €1 billion worth of medical data coming into the platform. So we've got some great partners and more I can't mention yet coming on board. But each have their different reasons. So I've spoken sort of about the patients, and obviously the incentive for the patients is very much around them being able to own their data, access their data, control their health, and even earn from it. From the hospital's point of view, we've seen that the healthcare industry is experiencing, let's say, a bit of a budget squeeze. Costs are going up, healthcare needs are going up, the populations are aging, we have less doctors available. And so they've turned to look for more revenue opportunities. And one of those is data monetization. And that's a very realistic and an important one. But the issue comes if they have a conflict of interest with the patients. When people realize that, my trusted provider is selling my data, it's really not a nice position for the hospitals to be in. So this really gives them an opportunity for them to empower their patients to be involved in their data and to share their data, while they also take some of that benefit from doing the effort to make that data available. So we see it that they sort of see it as a humanitarian way to monetize and empower patients, and to show patients that they are willing to be open and transparent and support them. So that's sort of why our hospitals have come on board. From the sort of, let's say, researchers and data users' point of view, they've really struggled to get access to a deep level of data. At the moment, they're either just sort of picking up a few data sets from specific hospitals, but not able to get the full medical file of the patient, and therefore they can't get the full clinical picture of a patient, or they're just getting sort of high-level information and not the full data. With our system, as I mentioned, we bring the full standardized data from multiple different places, so you get that full clinical picture and a much deeper data set. And then we also enable them to have that peer-to-peer relationship with the patient. So as I mentioned, they're able to invite people for clinical trials, to request additional information, and they can do all of that without even having to know who the patient is. So we can use still blockchain privacy techniques in order to connect them with the patients without revealing the patient's identity necessarily. So that's what's really kind of excited our partners about getting on board with us.
So data protection would be key over here.
Yes, exactly. So this is a really secure way that is compliant and all about the patient keeping control. So yeah, exactly. The data's got integrity and trust and security around it too. Yes.
Great. Now with all these strong partnerships that you have, and I'm going to say it now, this bulletproof process that you have just mentioned to me before, what role do you see your company playing in the future of healthcare, with all this included?
So I think, as I'm seeing, we do speak to lots of different partners, I think healthcare is taking a dramatic change at the moment. We've seen a big increase in the use of innovative technologies. COVID has been a sort of a great driver for that, because it's sort of forced, let's say, the healthcare industry to get out of its habits of being a little bit nervous about bringing new technologies, and actually had to use them and learned that it is possible to do it in a secure way or in a safe way. So we definitely see technology becoming a core focus, and as part of that, data becoming a core focus. The other thing we see is preventative health. So the industry is realizing that both to save lives and to save money, frankly, we should be catching diseases before they happen or at early stages, and really driving preventative health forward. And for us, and as it's been said, the core thing for preventative health is we need the data. We need to be able to identify things as early as possible. And that means we need information to be able to identify that. And we need that data to be used in our AI prediction modeling tools, etc. And we need patients to be involved. We need them to be, we're the ones who know our bodies best and know ourselves best. We need to know. We're the ones who need to drive this forward. With less, as I mentioned, less doctors available, we can't be relying on someone else to tell us, okay, have you checked that? Have you done this? Or even, for example, to follow instructions on, are we taking our own medications? Are we looking after ourselves? And so the two core things here are data and data-driven insights, and patient empowerment. And that for us is exactly what our platform is targeting. And so we really, envision being able to be that sort of backbone to empowering patients and empowering data insights.
I have a follow-up question to what I previously asked you. How do you see the healthcare industry, though, evolving in the next 5 to 10 years? And what role do you envision ARIA Health actually playing in that evolution?
So I think the healthcare industry, as I said, it's going to develop towards more preventative health, and I think also more hybrid healthcare. So we'll utilize more at-home monitoring tools, smart devices, real-time data transfers, and basically at-home healthcare, as well as there will still, we're not going to, people, I think at one point, like during COVID, everything went towards telemedicine, and then it kind of came back a bit, and now we're kind of finding the bit in between that will be a combination of both. And yes, ARIA, I see us being very important to enable the data exchange, because all of this relies on data exchange and being able to get access to good quality data, which can be understood and used within all these new technologies.
You have been absolutely great so far, Georgina, and you have shared so much insight with us. What advice would you give the aspiring entrepreneurs from outside, okay, who are interested in starting their own health tech company nowadays? What's your advice to them?
Health tech can be a bit of a scary industry to enter. Often people feel like maybe they need to be a doctor or from the medical background. But I think there's a lot of insight to come from other industries. I mean, for example, we built our app using fintech principles because we saw that the user experience in fintech financial technology products was so far ahead from health technology products. So I think my kind of advice is, don't be scared. You have to jump in. You will learn as you will go. You will fail, but all these different industries and different areas have a lot of knowledge to bring, and we need to have a fresh approach to how we do healthcare.
Brilliant. That was an amazing answer. Georgina, I would like to thank you so very much for stopping by, giving us some of your very, very valuable time to elaborate more on ARIA Health. I would like to thank you in the name of MedTech, and yeah, I guess we'll be seeing each other at our expos.
Yes, indeed.
Which expo will you be joining?
So I will be at AIBC in Dubai.
Oh, brilliant.
And the MedTech conference there. So looking forward to that. And I also attended the Malta conference last year. And I have to say that it was the best conference I've attended. I found it such a fantastic experience. So many interesting people and very engaging. So I really look forward to the next.
I look forward to connecting with you in Dubai. For sure. Georgina, thank you very much for coming on our show, and much of all the best of success, I would say, not luck. You've got it all down. You've done your research. You've worked hard. ARIA Health out there today. All the best, really.
Great. Thank you so much.